Coach Pete, we're live, my
Hey,
man.
how are you, sir?
Ah, man, look at my headgear. I'm doing great.
I'm jelly. All I have is these little white things.
It doesn't get better than this. I look like I'm in Vietnam in a helicopter.
Or you're landing airplanes for the Philadelphia.
What's up, man? So let's dive right into it. So
Let's do it.
I haven't talked to you in a little bit. Well, I talk to you every day, but I haven't talked to you on the interwebs in quite some time. So we talked a lot about like what our plans were in terms of like keeping the community strong and things like that. So I want to hear from you. How's the school? How's the community? How do you think we're doing right now? What are we up to? Go ahead.
Uh, we're doing terrible, and I think we should close up and just give it all away. No, I think we're doing what we're doing, and I think I told you before when we talked last weekend was I've had people reach out to me that I know from other states, and they're like, "Man, your stuff is everywhere." It's just so what we're doing is awesome. Look, there's always room for improvement. We're always
Yeah.
looking to improve. We have conversations all the time. How can we make it better? How can we make it better? So we're giving everybody an opportunity to get involved, stay involved. And like we spoke of before, it's a lot more than just, I'm just going to watch this class. No, let's get involved. Let's keep going. We're finding ways to progress when we don't have the optimal environment to do it. The whole improvise, adapt, and overcome. And I think I know the effort is there from yourself and the coaching staff because we all talk about it all the time. How can we make things better? So in that aspect, we're doing it. Personally, I'd like to see more people involved, like the kids classes, we'll have 25, 30 kids on the class.
Yeah.
And then we'll bump into the adult class. And we'll have 8, 10 people, but we should have more people involved.
Yeah.
Look, everybody's busy, but everybody's at home,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we do have, like we've said it before, we have the same people, a lot of the times it's the same group. It's almost a cookie cutter,
Right.
but we're putting it out there. I think it's just a matter of we need to encourage people maybe a little bit more. Maybe we can wear clown noses and maybe people start coming to watch us with clown noses on.
Nah, I mean we're working on that. We're
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we're definitely doing our best. So we're doing the best with what we have. That means like, the tools at our disposal, our very limited intelligence, and limited creativity. We definitely are doing our best. But I agree with you. Like every day we're racking our brains. Like how do we get the people who are like, Zoom's not my thing, and I get that, man. Like
Yeah.
I often ask myself if I didn't have to be doing this, if I, didn't have to be on these Zoom calls, would I be doing it? And I would like to think that I would. I think I would. And I understand that a lot of people aren't like that. And that's what we're always trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Luckily, we do see a path forward, right? That's what we're talking.
Yeah.
We had a staff meeting this morning. We're talking all about like how do we move forward with this and get people, back into contact with teammates, and that's next. Like we're gonna be rolling that out. But man, just looking back at the last 9 weeks of what we did, like remember that first week of online classes versus what we're doing now, man. Like we're doing pretty well. Like I'm really proud of what we've been able to do. And yeah, the adult engagement's limited, but I get that. I understand that. But we're doing okay, man. Right? Like we're keeping the community strong.
Yeah, and I think there's the outreach is there. There's always interaction taking place, whether it's in our McHugh page or outside of the page. It always seems to be that it could be Gordon Gecko making his post, and then there's 25 people from the team posting on that. There's always that. And when Juliana did the McHugh photo BJJ challenge, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to keep everybody engaged. And that we have Bea from Professor Matakis is joining in because she trains with us quite when she can.
Yeah.
There's an outreach going on, and there's a lot of acknowledgement, and that community is so integral and such a strong piece to what we have and what I think makes us so special. And doing everything we can to keep that engaged. The training's training. You're going to get good hard training, but it's when you're off the mat and there's that community and stuff like that. And just like when they did the kettlebell workout last week, that was awesome. What was there, 20 people out there?
Yeah, man, I'm going to double down on that.
Awesome.
That was really cool. We'll get another one going.
Definitely.
So, man, one thing that I noticed is, especially with the kids, it's always a little bit easier to see with the kids because the people who are head and shoulders above their peers in the kids' class is always obvious, man. Like Victoria's and like Ryan Terry.
Yeah.
Like it's obvious that they're operating on a different kind of RPM than everybody else, and that happens in every kid's sport. It's a little bit less obvious in the adult program, right? Because everybody has strength at least, and like if one person has your number, maybe that'll be obvious, but there's a lot more parity in the adult program. One thing I noticed in the kids program is, man, all-stars. There being some kids that have just like really come into their own, and like the participation is skyrocketing, and like they're just doing awesome, man. It's a lot more obvious in the kids class, but I've noticed in the adults, and again, it's a little less obvious, that people are just like people like a good example would be John Mans. Like he's in all these day classes every day and he's killing it, man. Like I sent him an email. I was like, dude, he's like a middle-aged guy, and I was like, he probably doesn't hear this a lot, at least not enough in his adult life, but I'm like, man, like I see you and I commend you, and like if you're not proud of yourself, you're out of your mind, man, because you're getting after it and it's not easy to do. And then like Meg, I don't know if you see, like Meg is on all these Zoom calls. She's killing it, man.
And PJ, it was a PJ Cole.
PJ,
the guy's
never even took class with us.
He doesn't even have a belt.
He's killing it.
Like I've said to you before, I think he is going to be, and I know he's not Italian, but he's the guinea pig, right?
Yeah.
So he's the guy that, I could say that I'm Italian, but he's the guy that. And he has some experience because he does murder, death, suicide over at the Krav Maga school.
Yeah.
But he does all that, and he's coming over, and he's taking and he's on all the calls, and you can see he's working with his dummy that he made, and he's doing it all, and his body's moving.
Right.
So I can't wait to see when this guy gets on the mat with somebody, and he starts doing it for real. He's going to have that transition of oh my God, what is this? To very short time span, you'll see he'll be cutting through somebody's guard. He'll be setting up a triangle guard. And it's because he's building a base through this tool that we have right now.
Right.
It's incredible to see.
Yeah. And he's doing great. And I'm glad that like a guy like that can find his niche with us, with what we're doing. And again, like I want to point out, like I understand, like I talked to like Mike Miller the other day for quite some time. And like I'll like shoot a message out to Big Al, and I get it, man. Like the senior students especially, they'll pop their head in every once in a while just to show support. But I don't know if they're just so like that Saturday morning grind that we 30 people in no-gi class and we're killing each other, and it's like 10 7-minute rounds in a row. I don't. Maybe they're holding on to that too hard, and I think that's limiting them, but I understand. I get it, guys. Like, no hard feelings. But
it's a little snobbery. It's a little bit of snobbery.
Right. Too good. I'm too good for Zoom.
Too good. I'm better than that.
Yeah, I get it, though, guys. Like, no big deal. But I will tell you this. Very soon when we get back to training, I'm going to whoop your ass. Weighed in 187.9 today. Lean and mean, too. Strong. I'm ready to go. So
physically bigger, you could tell.
Brings me to this, man. When was the last time you trained?
Truthfully?
Yep.
9 weeks ago, was it?
Last night, dude. We're telling the truth. Last night.
We're telling the truth. I'm Josh, and we trained last night.
Right. We trained last night, and we trained the day before that, and the day before. I've been training every day. I'm training every day, but I'm training with a very select group of people. So we have our quarantine, as we call it. And, it's limited, and it's calculated. So you tell me, why is it not a terrible idea to do what we're doing? So we're not supposed to be training. We shouldn't be near another human being, right? 6 feet apart.
That's insane.
I agree, but why is it not such a bad idea to do what we're doing?
Because each one of us, and we've addressed it, are in check. Nobody is, if you're out, you have your mask on. I've used more hand cleaner over the last 10 weeks than I've ever used in my life, in the car, out of the car. I've got it in my pocket, wherever I go. Everybody's in check. Everybody's doing what they need to do. You can't be stuck in your house. You have to go to the grocery store. But when I go to the grocery store, I don't sniff an orange. And I keep my mask on. I do everything I can, And it's about being smart. You keep that 6 feet distance, because I don't know where this jamoke was. Who knows what this guy's doing.
Right.
So the one is, we are all accountable for each other.
That's the word I'm looking for.
And we're accountable to, yes, it's accountability, because look, I can't put you guys at risk. What kind of teammate? You guys are my brothers to me, and sisters. I would never want to put you and your families at risk.
Right.
And it's my responsibility, not just to myself and my family, but to you guys.
Yeah, but I also let's also point something out. So we've been talking a little bit about the idea of the quarantine, and that's like a fun little catchphrase that we're using. And let's define that a little bit. And let me start by saying, this is not a suggestion, and this is not an order. I'm not telling you guys to go out and start a quarantine. I'm just telling you what we're doing. And if you think it's a good idea, and you think that maybe it's something you want to explore on your own, under your own accord, then go for it. I'm not telling anybody to do this. This is what I have decided to do independently of my Jiu-Jitsu Academy. This is me as a Jiu-Jitsu practitioner and as an independent adult. So the idea of the quarantine is, I have 4 guys who, and by extension, the people who live in their households, right? So every household kind of counts as an individual these days. So I find people who I trust first and foremost to do the things you already said. Are they taking their hygiene and their social distancing seriously? And you guys are. I trust you guys with my life. But you guys also fall, besides the fact that you're 120 years old, you guys also fall into
122.
You guys also fall into the same risk category as me. What does that mean? That means we don't really have any comorbidities other than the fact that you're alive, which is a comorbidity in itself, because there's risk in being alive. We're fit, right? We don't have heart conditions. We don't have hypertension. We don't have diabetes. All these things. So we assume the same risks just from everyday living in this new isolated world. So that in itself is safe. And then if we take that a step further, we're willing to accept risk to do these things that we love. And that, for some reason, I don't really know why, is being misconstrued or just seen as selfish. People are seeing it as selfish, but here I understand the selfish aspect. If the hospital system was overrun right now and this thing spread a little bit easier than it does, and we weren't adhering to social protocols like the mask, and I don't go anywhere. I go to Whole Foods once a month, and I go to the jiu-jitsu school and I see you guys. That's about it. So in terms of being selfish, even if I do contract coronavirus and I bring it home and my wife gets it, that's an assumed risk that I took on. I am not going to Target with no mask on, coughing on everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not taking up an ICU bed that somebody else needs right now. There's nobody there. We talk to all of our nurse students and our doctor students. They're getting furloughed. They're getting laid off.
Yeah.
So not to get political, this is not a political conversation. I see that some people find it to be selfish and they think it's dangerous. It might be a little bit more dangerous than what you're doing sitting on your couch, and it is a little bit more dangerous for me, just for me.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I think you nailed it. We've all identified one. Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to put up the risk? Which is yes. But in my mind, I don't think it's a risk because, and we've all talked, none of us are willing to put anybody at risk.
Right.
Our main concern is each other, our families. It's our families, and then it's us. And, it's a situation where we're putting ourselves in, quote unquote, a risk, but it's safe. Right. In the sense that we're all taking care of each other.
And let me point something out real quick. Let's not ignore the fact that the executive order itself, it indicated you can be in groups of 10 or less, and they've got to be people that are, I forget the exact wording, but it's along the lines of like part of your social fabric, like your everyday life. Who is more part of my everyday life than like you and Coach Tony? I literally sweat on you guys every day of my life for the last 6 years. So like you guys are woven into the social fabric of my life. We are well within our legal right, like even under the tightness of the executive order. So let's be clear about that. You know what I mean? And
we're not breaking the law.
We're not. But
I think we're not breaking the law.
I'm addressing like the social outrage. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
And we don't really owe it to anybody.
People keep using that. I've read it 100 times. I've seen it like 10 times today. That's a violation of. It's not a violation.
Well, what we're doing is not. Some people are people that are gathering outside of that gym. Like, I mean, I don't
with
think
their mask off.
With their mask. Look, here's the thing. Let's be very upfront. Like, I don't have a musket, and you can see I don't. I have that picture right there. I'm backwards and upside down. That's an Ernest Hemingway painting. It is not the Declaration of Independence. Like, I'm not wearing a tri-corner hat, and I'm not part of the Tea Party.
Yeah.
I'm a responsible adult. I'm working well within the legality of the executive order.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm just being so goddamn safe. You know what I mean? And the truth is, now, that's in one corner of this argument. Let's go to the other corner. America, right? Like,
America.
The truth is, this is an insane government overreach. And I feel like I don't want to get lumped into that argument because that is not my stance. But the truth is, if we do find ourselves in a position where I can't train with you, remember, we're not teaching at the school. The doors are locked. It's just me and you. If we do get to a point where that's like not allowed, like is that too far? Is that too far?
That is too far. It's way too far. Because then you're limiting individuals from, making money, having their business. You're basically saying if that was to come, that's like martial law, isn't it? Or everything's shut down. You're stuck in your house. You have crow's nest or 60 up there. That's not what we're doing here,
right?
And it's overstepped by the government if they were to do that,
right?
And they're not doing that. I mean, let's be honest, they're not doing that. I think
early
on, everybody looked at it as like, stay in the house, bunker down, sandbag your doors.
Which we should have. And point out, we did. We were the first ones to shut the school down. Why? Because we didn't know.
I was so frustrated. I was told, you're working from home for the foreseeable future. I came into the academy and I went, yes, I'm working from here for the next foreseeable future. And you're like,
shutting it down.
We're going to shut down. I'm like, you're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, but hey, man, but the only reason we're bringing all this stuff up is these are the two extremes of the argument, right? One extreme of the argument is you're being selfish. We need to protect everybody. But that side of the argument is starting to get a little bit to the point where it's like nobody can ever get sick again. When did that happen? Like, we were supposed to flatten the curve and then allow for some exposure, some risk. And somewhere along the way, the last 9 weeks, it turned into if you get sick, you are a piece of and you are selfish. That's one crazy side. That's the extreme. The other extreme is those guys gathering with no masks on and American flags and like yelling at cops and stuff. We're not doing any of that.
No.
We're directly here. I'm not running classes in my school. I wear a mask everywhere I go. I'm not having parties. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm meeting a very small select few of my classmates, you guys, my training partners, and we're training. Hopefully we can all meet in the middle on this. So the whole point of us going through all this is, one, I do want to be very upfront and honest with, students and parents of students, because you guys do see, it used to be a little more of this, like, hey, just clean the school.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I cleaned the school after we trained, and I just want everybody to know, like, I'm not doing this to be defiant. I'm not doing this because America and my rights. And a lot of times, like, my message gets hijacked by people who didn't even watch my video. And I don't want that to happen here.
Yeah.
And if you see the quarantine idea that we're talking about and you you see that maybe there's some logic there, then
There's value.
maybe hypothetically you can adopt the same idea for yourself.
Yeah.
Hypothetically. I'm not ordering anybody to do that. And I also want to point out, say I did fall into a risk category. Say I was like 100 pounds overweight and you were 100 pounds overweight. Obviously, I would say, jiu-jitsu aside, if I'm 100 pounds overweight and I have like a heart condition, I'm very, very careful. First off, I'm doing everything I can to lose that weight, right? I'm doing everything I can to take myself out of that risk category. In 9 weeks, you can accomplish a lot, people. You can do a lot. So first and foremost, I'm doing that. Secondly, I'm not going to Target. I'm not really going to Whole Foods. I'm being overly cautious. And I'm isolating. And then after about 9-10 weeks of isolating, living like in fear, as you should if you have one of these major comorbidities, but man, you really want to train, I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to find somebody else who is just as diligent as you in your isolation, and you form what's called an isolation cell. Look, there's a reason that like when you see like Bill Gates and like all of his entourage, they're not wearing masks unless like they're on CNN and then they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know,
Got you fooled.
And I'm not saying that like they're dirtbags for that. What I'm saying is they formed an isolation cell. They trust each other that they haven't been exposed. That when they're not with each other, they're completely masked up and isolating. You can form an isolation cell with people that you trust as long as you're upfront and honest with them, right?
Honesty is the whole key to everything. It's if you're not being honest, and you're gonna go, you know what? I kind of went out and hung out with some people this weekend, but I just won't let anybody know because there was no evidence or pictures on Facebook or Instinct Face. I'm gonna go train.
Then you're a dirtball.
You're a dirtball, and even though what you did may not be outlandish in the old world,
yeah,
now it is.
Yeah,
and again, it goes back to you when you create. If you find a group of people that you'd like to hang out with, maybe on the mat, if there's a mat available, then you need to make sure, 100% sure, that you're not putting anybody at risk, because the domino effect will be worse. It will impact a lot more people, because then it's, right. I can't trust anybody. I'm not training with anybody. And then where are we?
Right.
Then we're back 10 weeks ago, and it's even worse because now you can't trust people.
Right.
And that's the trust in anything in life is the most valuable thing. It's the most valuable thing.
So the way we treat it, it's like, and you know us, like we pull no punches with each other. And sometimes I could be a little bit brutal, but it's all in fun. But you know me, like if you guys come in and you're like, oh yeah, I did this, or even if like you went to like a neighbor's house and you guys were like, I was drinking and we didn't have a mask on, I'm gonna be like, man, I'm glad you had a good time, but you're beat. Like you're not you got traded off the quarantine, and it doesn't mean you can't come back, but I'm not gonna see you for at least 10 days. Like take a week, make sure like you're in isolation a little bit. It's just it's that important. All right, so that's the idea of the quarantine. And one last thing, let's point out that like that doesn't mean you have to meet up and physically train. Like one of the things that's made our online academy, like this virtual academy, so successful for us is the fact that there's accountability. Probably the best example of that is Coach Allen and his accountability group that he started like a few weeks back, because he brought guys out of the dead, guys we hadn't seen since the lockdown. Now they're like the most active guy. Like Kaluzzi's probably the best example of that.
Yeah,
getting after it, man. I'm proud of him.
That's awesome.
And I was like, Kaluzzi, where the hell you been? He's like, yeah, this has been hard on me, man. And then Alan reached out, and here I am. So the quarantine doesn't have to be in physical contact. Make little accountability groups, and those are your accountability buddies. We're coining a lot of terms, man. I better get some royalties on this. But if you have 5 or 6 people you're beholden to show up, man, that changes the game. That means like
big time.
Yeah, then Netflix doesn't seem so appealing. Like sitting out back doing nothing doesn't seem so appealing.
And that's, the beauty of, especially when we do our film study at night, is it's the ability to interact with other people, keep some sense of community going, And it could be like last night we watched Kyle Dake and Jordan Burroughs.
Oh, nice.
You know, yeah, it's for the World in 2017, right? The World, they were building the World team. It's just awesome to sit there, talk, ask questions and stuff like that, and just communicate. You know, and look, and again, like you said, it doesn't have to be designated to stuff from the academy. It could be just, man, Zoom's free, Skype is free.
Yeah,
set it up, get a bunch of people sit around, you know, toast marshmallows independently and talk and BS.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in it. You know what I mean?
How about Judo Jeff? Judo Jeff just got on the horn and got a couple guys to meet him to do a rucksack march.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that, like, people are not going to forget. Like, people are not going to forget. There's going to be at least a dozen people 8, 9, 10 years from now who are going to mention Allen in their black belt speech. They're going to say, like Allen got me through. He pulled the line. He dragged me through one of the darkest times and one of the hardest times to stay active. Like, that's the stuff that people are going to remember, man.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think that, again, I'll always bring it back to this community that we have. It's really a special thing. And there's always the encouragement. There's always that. And now is the time, since we can't see each other in the lobby or outside in the parking lot or on the mat or on open mat or whatever, now is the time that we really start interweaving ourselves with each other and really building a stronger fabric. Because it's like we said on the call this morning, you know, what we had, we're morphing into something new.
Right.
And we don't know what it's going to be because we don't have it yet. We don't even see a light at the end of the tunnel at this point.
That's a good point.
And
that's a really good point.
You know, we're looking to keep everything tight knit, strong, that sense of community, and build so when we get day one back on the mat, I mean, jiu-jitsu wise, probably not there's not a lot of training going, a lot of teaming going on, but getting back on the mat and getting the wheels moving faster.
Right.
Getting it back, because that's so important.
Man,
you know,
I mean, look, the truth is that we are experts at that. If we're world class, I mean, we're world class instructors. That's one thing that I will never be, you know, bashful about. Like, we're world class instructors. Like, my jiu-jitsu is not world class. You know, if Keenan came in today, he would smoke me, of course. But we're tough, man. Like, we're good. We're tough. We're knowledgeable. Yeah. We are competent in every sense. Don't get me wrong. But our strength, like, the thing we do better than almost anybody in the world is build community and, like, genuinely and sincerely build people up and teach people how to come together, like, aside from us. So, like, one of the things we do so well is we just encourage an environment where you know, without us forcing it, people just come together and, like, support each other. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get us through this. And it's the kind of stuff, it's the stuff that's going to make us just, you know, we're going to hit the ground running is what I'm saying, Pete.
I know.
But let's map out some, like, I don't know, like, the actual concrete steps we're going to take. Like, I have like a dozen grappling dummies showing up, and look, it's not the same, obviously. Like we want to be able to train and guillotine each other, but that's not in the cards right now. Aside from maybe you guys on your own independently forming a quarantine. So the next step, and I think it's only maybe a few weeks away, is we have a lot of mat space. We divide the mat space. This is nothing new. I didn't invent this, but, you know, every square you either get a grappling dummy or somebody who lives in your household to train with, right? Yeah. And we just drill, and we get a workout, like a team workout, and we talk jiu-jitsu, and we see each other. We just look at each other, and we be in the same room. You know, and we do that for, 3-4 weeks, a month. And then you start bringing your quarantine together inside the academy. I think that's step 2. So if you guys aren't wrapping your head around, like, who you trust, who you want to, you know, maybe invest a little.
Start thinking now.
Start thinking now. Start reaching out now.
Start thinking now. Yep,
like, 100%. Take part, man. Like, be visible in our community. Even if it's only to, like, post memes and stuff. Like, we need that, too. We appreciate
Chihuahua
that.
Leads the league
I
in
know.
memes.
Dude, you know who came out of nowhere?
He took over for Al.
Dude, Paul Zagarella came out of nowhere and is dropping the heat, man. With those memes. Dude, I'll be on the couch and I'll just look at Melissa and start chuckling. I'll be like, freaking Paul Zagarella out of nowhere. These are pretty good memes.
And they're good memes. They're quality memes.
They're
That's the good
quality.
part. But yeah, I think everybody needs to. And look, we don't. You don't want cliques, but there's cliques. There's groups. You have groups of people, for whatever reason. There are certain people that are, they have the same type of job. They're, whether they're teachers or tech guys or
the same type of humor, the same type of like dark humor.
Exactly. I mean, there's only one gnome, so unless he's in a kid's class, but we wouldn't let that happen.
Poor Natalie.
But there's, you have people that they gravitate to each other for whatever reason, whatever it is. And you need to say, you know what, look, we got 4 guys, 5 guys, we'll say. Everybody's in check. Everybody, how long, what's going on? What's the checklist that you're looking for? When was the last time you were, put yourself in a bad spot? Meaning not social distancing and so forth. You weren't wearing a mask. You weren't doing whatever, you were shaking hands like a politician. When was the time you did that? Okay, well, look, we need to start coming together as a team. We need to say this is ground zero now. This is day one. Moving forward, this is what we're looking. These are the grounds that we're building the framework based off of, like we said, trust, being truthful with everything you do, being accountable to yourself and your teammates, and saying, look, I will not do this. If I know I step out of bounds, I go out and I hang out with my buddy Joe and we sit around sharing a shot glass or whatever. Well, you know what? Obviously, we're not going to be training for 10 to 12 days. You can't do that. So it's creating your group, your framework, and being 100% truthful and accountable to each other. And when you have that, you can start being truthful and trusting each other on the mat.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. It's all based off of trust, and the one thing we talked about this morning that we don't want to have happen, that when we're actually together in the academy, there's no way for it to happen, is we don't want anybody to get left behind or feel left out or feel ostracized or
exactly.
Nobody wants to be the last one picked, and that's not what we're trying to set up here, So if you're in a position to make sure somebody doesn't get left out, man, take advantage of that and reach out to somebody, bring them in. One thing the Blast would always share before school, and I always liked, was if you see somebody sitting alone first day of school at lunch, go sit with them.
Yeah.
And
that's powerful.
It's powerful. And it goes on. It's it doesn't need to be said inside the academy, because even if you're sitting in the corner by yourself, when that first, okay, guys, you got a partner now. So it's not a big deal, man, but it's hard now. So I don't want anybody to feel left out.
I think this is a good opportunity so if you don't have any group that's close or people, hey, put it out there, put it on the page. Hey guys, look, I'm looking for a group. This is my deal. I'm 23. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Who wants to recruit me? You get the Team Biggins, they've already started smack talking. There's a lot, that's awesome. That's a lot. Because then we're building another bit of community by team ball busting, which is awesome. But picking somebody up that maybe not necessarily you're familiar with. You know what? Now you're building a stronger unity. You're a stronger unity and team with everybody. And it's awesome, And it's not about picking anybody. It's come on. Just open your doors to a certain degree.
That's it,
Be truthful,
man.
Open your doors.
And even if it's just call somebody to go for a jog, call somebody to go for a bike ride, call somebody to just talk or whatever, man. Just get involved. Help somebody out. Last thing I want to talk about is the future of jiu-jitsu. So I put up a couple different videos about what I think the future of jiu-jitsu is, and it's changing all the time. But when this first went down, man, the first couple days after the shutdown, and I spent too much time watching CNN, I was pooping my pants a little bit, and we were going by the numbers out of Italy, and that was scaring the crap out of me, and we just didn't realize yet how really widespread this thing actually is. And how, man, now the morbidity, the mortality rate's 0.2 or something. And I'm doing that stupid face because I'm an idiot, but I'm not scoffing at that. It's deadly, and people have died. And that's it's sad. It's unfortunate. But when they first rolled this thing out, they were saying 3, 4, 5% mortality rate. So I was just crunching some numbers on my phone, and I almost fell over because that's 4 million Americans.
Yeah.
Clearly, that is not what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
And it's becoming more manageable. And one of the things, man, that, again, I don't want to get political, but I am. One of the things that nobody's really pointing out is in the beginning in New York City, which was the epicenter and still is of this infection in America, they were treating this thing really. They were throwing people on respirators right off the bat, and now we're seeing that pretty much killed everybody. Why is nobody talking about that? So let me ask you one thing, man, because you know you're a mathematician and a statistician, a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Let's take out these numbers. The people that the doctors, not by their own fault, doing everything in their power, but maybe put way too many people on ventilators too soon. If we take those numbers away and all the people that died in nursing homes, which nobody's talking about that either. The fact that Cuomo and like the guy in Cali,
Murphy was doing it.
Yeah, Murphy did it too. Made people accept COVID patients, and like 25,000 nursing home residents died. Why is nobody talking about that? But anyway, I don't want to get political, but I just want to paint a picture of what I think is a little bit closer to reality. Take away all those numbers, and then what do we have? Like, it's not as scary, is what I'm saying, and it's not as deadly for
the fact. Well, how about the stuff that they're taking people? They don't know what they died from. They go, "That's COVID."
Right. I don't want to piss people off, man. I know. There's a lot of good memes with that. Like a guy like.
I told you about the one I saw yesterday. Yeah. The guy sticking out of the windshield.
Right. I just saw one today. Guy skydiving with no parachute, and it was like, "When did you decide to die of COVID?" or something like that. And we're laughing about this, but that's funny, guys. Like, have a sense of humor. Funny. We have gallows humor. That's just kind of how we are. Dark humor, and I appreciate that. But it doesn't mean like it's sad. I don't like that people have to deal with this. The point I'm making is I don't think that we're getting the picture that is closest to reality. And where are we getting most of our stuff from? From like CNN, man.
Fox News. You can't get the truth because you got this guy's, open up the doors. This guy's shut everything down.
Yeah,
where's the truth?
Well, it's pretty clear.
In the middle.
It's pretty clear now that you turn on CNN, and I'll be honest. Like I was a CNN guy because Fox News is just like it's fucking outlandish. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But now CNN, it's clear their only agenda is to make Trump look like an ass. Which I don't care about Donald Trump. I don't care about politics. It's just I want information. Give me some clear information. And the more we piece this together, it's not as deadly as they told us it was going to be. So I'm just bringing this up because I got another comment on that video where the first video I made was when things were super bleak. I was like pooping my pants a little bit and I was scared and I was like, what's the future? Jiu-jitsu? Like, are we ever going to be back? And then I was like, the hell are you talking? Of course we'll be back because, people need jiu-jitsu. But every day I get a new comment from somebody like, nope, jiu-jitsu's done. It's not coming back. Some guy just said, very well spoken and articulated. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. But unfortunately, I think the future of BJJ is bleak. Why? What are you talking about?
I don't see how that's possible.
So here's the worst case scenario, I think. Worst case scenario is the vast majority of public doesn't want to is scared. We'll just say what it is scared to be in a group setting until there's a vaccine. That's worst case scenario. And that's probably at least a year down the road, right? Which is not that long. It's not that long. But the truth is, what I think the future of jiu-jitsu is going to be, within the next 3 months, we're going to be having group classes, dude. Yeah. We might not have that like 500 student school that that we were like about to have, but that's okay with me. As long as we have our guys training and our kids training. And then within the few months after that, when like that we get used to the spike and the dip and the spike and the dip, and we realize that the mortality rate is really low and that treatments are going to start coming out. Man, in like 6 months, this is going to be behind us. I'm calling it here. Like, what's today's date, man? I'm on record saying 6 months. Like, it's going to be behind us.
Yeah. I think one of the things, one of the real indicators of where we stand is when it comes to schools. Because, my wife's a teacher, and I've heard them talking about how their ideas that they're throwing around as far as how they're going to have schools. Is it they're going to keep doing these virtual learning till January? I don't know if they're going to do that. Well, one of the things, and this would kind of fit what we do in a really good way, is doing A/B schedules.
Mhm.
So you have half a class. You have a class. We have 2 mats.
Oh, well,
Class, well,
just about the entire shopping center has gone out of business except for
Yeah.
us. So
Yes.
we might have 5 or 6 mats by the time we get things going.
yes. So I think I think personally that if you take the fear and the fear that everybody has, that's propagated mostly by the news, and we get down and we look at numbers. Like you had a post about numbers the other day. You look at those numbers, you go, what are we looking at? What are we freaking out over? I think people expected them to have dump trucks of bodies driving through in a military dump truck with bodies
Right.
loaded up, and they're going to dump them into the Delaware River to feed the fish.
Dude,
No.
I want to point something out. If we take a second and we take New York City and very North Jersey, like Bergen,
I was going to bring that up.
if we take them out of the picture,
no issues.
this is a very different situation that the country is in, man.
Yeah. And this is where I think if New Jersey, and I just had a call with my boss, and we were talking, and he's from Jersey City, and we were talking about it, because we're talking about for work, what are we going to do? When are we going back to the office? I said, you know what? I said, if the governor said, we're going to separate South Jersey from North Jersey, because there is 2 different views. Because, up there, they were riding those, tunnels of death back and forth from the city with all the people that were sick. Most of the people down here don't have that issue. It's not that bad down here. I don't even think Philadelphia is that bad. Philadelphia's got some.
Ronnie's upset that I have the lawnmower guy outside.
You can't have it all, Ronnie.
Come on, Ronnie. Give me a break, dude. Yeah, how about this? I can go on mute. Keep going. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, so I think if we look at the numbers and where they are, and you take a look at you got to come up with the equator for North and South. You know what I mean? You get the North and South, and you separate it. You look at those numbers. The South Jersey numbers are not nearly as bad. Not nearly as bad. And maybe it's just me, and I'm not a fan of the governor, but I think he should really say, one, looking at business, you can't kill all of small business, and that's exactly what's happening right now. And you can't do that. This country's built on small businesses, and if you're going to eliminate, or you're going to allow small business to survive, that's an issue. Then you need to start looking at realistic numbers and where we stand and everything, and saying, look, the South's not that bad. Below South Trenton, you can open up. Bordentown and down, you can open up,
or at least go by county. Like take a county by county approach.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's a good idea. Like North and South. Let me.
I only got a couple minutes. I got to run a call in a few minutes.
Dude, I just want to point something out, because we need to look at all angles, right? And your freaking call can wait, dude. What, you got a job? Get out of here. 2 things. First thing is this, Ronnie. I fired these lawnmower guys last year, and then they just keep showing up, dude. They're like an ex-girlfriend who won't go away.
That's stalker.
I'm not even going to pay these guys. They just keep showing up every Wednesday. I'm like, guys, get the hell out of here. Besides that, we do have a couple students who got sick, man. Let's not, I mean, it's public. It's on Facebook. Allie got sick, but, she's a nurse.
Yeah.
And it kicked her ass a little bit, but she's all right now. I just want to point out, like, my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, they both got it.
Yeah.
I know
my brother-in-law had it.
Yeah, like
early on.
I just want to be very clear. Like, I don't think I'm impervious to coronavirus. You don't either, especially since you're like 90. The thing there's an assumed risk that we're willing to take on. Like, I trust my immune system, and you might be thinking right now, whatever side of the fence you're on, you might be like, you're an idiot. People are dying. They are. People die. And people get sick. And this thing does kick some people's asses. I just have taken on, the position, and I'm fucking entitled to my position is the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm judging it by numbers. It's an informed position. This is not just America. I've made the decision that I can assume that risk because it's It's fucking low for me, guys. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And if I die coronavirus, man, you guys are you're gonna make fun of me.
I can't wait to stand over your castle and go,
oh, where's your kettlebell now, jackass? Put a shirt on.
here's a demo for you.
Yeah, I'll let you go, but I just wanted to leave it at that. Like, we don't think we're impervious. We know there's an illness, a sickness out there, and we might get hit with it. But I'm just confident that my body, that I've done everything in my life to make it prepared for this, can handle it. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. And when it comes to the quarantines, I trust you. I don't know if you trust me, but I'm there all the time, so you have no choice. But, you know, our group, all of us, we know we trust each other. You know, we lay it down for each other, willing to trust each other. We're not putting ourselves at risk. Because one thing, I love rolling. I love training with you guys. It's the best training in the world. Why would I screw that up? It's that simple.
Yeah, it's a good point. Don't mess it up.
Yep. No.
All right, go to work, dude.
So I got to go earn a living.
It was good talking to you,
I'll
man.
see you.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
I'll talk to you. All right. See you guys.
Adios.